Ajit Ghosh. Pleasure to welcome you over here. And एक चीज जो कि मैं start करूंगा before I carry forward the conversation is the fact that you have had a fabulous 2020. It's been amazing, and आप एक project के बारे में बात करो, दूसरा आ जाता है, दूसरे के बारे में बात करो, तीसरा आ जाता है. So it's like a fantastic thing in itself. And now the fact that you have actually won an award, and see, मेरे हिसाब से awards जीतना एक तरफ होता है और बच्चन साहब से appreciation पाना, it's like an award in itself. ठीक है? So when you get, an appreciation from the legend Mr. Amitabh Bachchan for an impactful performance like that, does it feel more special than the award itself, or is it like a bit of a mixture when it comes to the emotions?
It feels awesome because
Yeah,
he's awesome. He's
yeah,
really like superhuman, dude.
yeah,
वो इतने अच्छे इंसान है. I think वो इतने अच्छे एक्टर, इतने बड़े लेजेंड, उसके साथ साथ इतने अच्छे इंसान हैं because he acknowledges you, he loves you, he
yeah,
respects you, and I
yeah,
think that speaks volumes about him and who he is and
yeah,
how he likes to treat his co-actors. And I think his tweet was very sweet, and
yeah,
I melted when I read it. I was just like, oh my god, can I like fall down now? It's just like that. So
yeah,
it's really exciting that that he tweeted such a sweet thing about me being his co-actor and colleague,
yeah.
and it's I just think like it means so much, yeah, for a young actor like me to to get that kind of an appreciation from such a mega star. So of course, वो तो मेरे लिए एक अलग ही award है.
Yeah, of course you have worked with you're one of those fortunate people who has worked with Amit ji already, and inshallah माशाल्लाह आगे जाके भी आप आगे और काम करेंगे. लेकिन when you started, obviously एक जो एक एक fanatic होता है हर इंसान के अंदर कि यार when you start get your first glimpse and probably your introduction to Bollywood. जैसे for a lot of people it has been Shah Rukh Khan, Hrithik Roshan. For a lot of people it has been Amitabh Bachchan sir as well. So, what are your first memories of Amitabh Bachchan, sir? When you actually started getting acquainted with the term and thing called Bollywood, what are his first memories that
You
you
know,
have?
coincidentally, his films were the films that I watched when I was growing up
Yeah,
because I don't know why. So we didn't have cable when I was growing.
yeah,
I grew up in a city called Lucknow,
yeah,
and हम लोग के वहाँ cable allowed नहीं था.
जी,
घर पे बिल्कुल केबल टीवी अलाउड नहीं था. और हम लोग 3 बच्चे हैं,
yeah,
मैं, मेरी बहन और मेरा भाई.
yeah,
और आई रिमेंबर कि हम लोग संडेज को वी वर अलाउड टू वॉच लाइक सुबह से जंगल बुक आता था, फिर उसके बाद
yeah,
टेल स्पिन और डक टेल्स और ये सब
yeah,
वो जो चलता था. तो दैट
yeah,
वाज द ओनली डे एंड वी वर ओनली अलाउड टू वॉच DD1 एंड DD2. एंड
yeah,
कोइंसिडेंटली मेरे पापा मॉस्को में रहते थे. सो
yeah,
वो हमारे लिए VHS, वो जो VCR वो
yeah,
VHS
yeah,
डालते ना, VHS
correct,
कैसेट, तो
correct,
वो
correct,
लेकर आते थे. तो आई रिमेम्बर मेरे पास सारी डिज्नी एनिमेशन की फिल्म्स थी. मेरे पास सारी बच्चन साहब की फिल्में थी और मेरे पास मासूम थी. तो मेरे पास यही फिल्में थी एंड
yeah,
मिस्टर इंडिया. एंड आई रिमेम्बर वेरी फ्यू फिल्म्स दैट आई हैव वॉच्ड व्हाइल ग्रोइंग अप, नॉट
yeah,
टू मेनी.
yeah,
बट मेरी जितनी भी मेमोरीज रही हैं
yeah,
with with films, it has been mainly Mr. Bachchan.
yeah,
Because for me, सत्ते पे सत्ता, अजूबा, खुदा गवाह, ये
जी,
सारी फिल्में मतलब वो थी जो मतलब मैं उनको देखकर बस देखती रहती थी. मतलब भौचक्की हो जाती थी मैं उनको
yeah,
देख.
yeah, yeah,
Because it was just like I remember like I would only keep singing like सत्ते पे सत्ता का songs because मेरे को सत्ते पे सत्ता इतनी पसंद थी.
yeah, yeah,
Uh, so I remember watching most of his work only while growing up,
yeah,
and I absolutely loved him. My mother's a big fan of his work,
yeah,
and she's
yeah,
a big fan of his.
yeah,
So when I got to do my first show with him, it was
yeah,
like ये क्या हो रहा है मेरे साथ? It was just one of those things that I
yeah,
couldn't
yeah,
believe was happening to me.
yeah,
But
yeah,
I didn't like, मैंने कभी ऐसा सोचा भी नहीं था कि मुझे उनके
yeah.
साथ काम करने का मौका मिलेगा. I just think I'm fortunate that I got to work with him.
Yeah, yeah. Well, of course, you're saying that you're fortunate, and obviously the fact that you're saying that your mother is a big fan. I don't think anybody in this country is. I mean, I don't think anybody is not a fan of Mr. Bachchan because such is the legacy of the man. But when we talk about Marzi, so to say, it's I feel the character is very strong. Because it's like on one hand, it's like you know because see हमारे हिंदुस्तान में जो है कि there are certain stereotypical images that we form, like अगर ये टीचर है तो ये बस यही करेगी, इसके अलावा ये कुछ नहीं कर सकती. So there are certain, I'm not talking about the big cities, but still in a lot of like the small cities and all, there is this kind of a conception. So I found that your character in the show to be very strong, and उसके साथ जब गलत हुआ, so you take a stand for that as well. So how do you actually prepare yourself, and how do you actually look forward to motivating? There are so many girls as well who unfortunately still go through all these kind of things. I mean, India is unfortunately known for this. So how would you actually from your end motivate women कि अगर उनके साथ गलत हो रहा है या फिर गलत हुआ है पहले, how do they get the courage to go ahead and stand up for themselves? Would you want to say anything on that?
So I'll tell you, this is not a story which I think only happens in India. It happens across the world.
Everywhere,
Uh,
correct.
so this is a show that's called Liar. It's based on a show called Liar, which is a
Yeah.
BBC series. And when
जी.
I watched the original, and the same questions the sister asks, are you sure? There's a scene in the show where the sister asks, "Are you sure तुमने कुछ ज़्यादा शराब पी ली होगी? I think you had too much to drink. You know you can't handle your drinks." And she's like, "It's not about the drinks. It's not. I remember clearly what happened that night, and I know I've been violated, and I know that he has raped me." She says those things, and in the original also, like the character says that, and
Yeah.
it kind of makes you then go back in hindsight and think like कि ये एक जगह की स्टोरी नहीं है, ये औरतों की स्टोरी यूनिवर्सल ही होती है।
जी.
ये सारी चीजें औरतों के साथ सदियों से घटती आई हैं। और
Correct.
मैं एक छोटे शहर से हूँ, मैं लखनऊ से हूँ। मेरी परवरिश बॉम्बे की नहीं है, तो मुझे पता है कि एक छोटे शहर में किस निगाह से, किस नजरिए से एक औरत को देखा जाता है when something like this happens. And this whole conditioning that we all go through very early in our lives, where they say छोड़ो, रहने दो, जाने दो बात, छोड़ दो ना, जाने दो ना, that conditioning that we all go through. और ये सिर्फ छोटे शहरों में भी नहीं होता, ये बड़े शहरों में भी होता है, और ये
Everywhere.
सिर्फ इंडस्ट्री में नहीं होता है, ये बाहर भी होता है, ये सिर्फ टीचर्स के साथ नहीं होता, ये बहुत जगहों पे होता है।
Yeah.
So, that kind of a violation. Secondly, I don't think my character in the show is a very strong character. She's a very vulnerable character. She's somebody who has anxiety. She's somebody who is depression, like battling depression, borderline depression. And, for anyone to even cast me for a role like this, because there is a very interesting graph in the show where she's so weak to when she becomes really strong. And then she becomes like, forget it. दुनिया गई तेल लेने, मैं तो ये prove करके
But
रहूंगी.
I was talking about that
Yeah,
part only, that
exactly.
eventually you get the courage to actually go up and take a stand for yourself.
Yeah.
That also means a lot of strength.
Yeah, so that was something that really attracted me towards doing this part, because I don't very easily get cast in roles which are vulnerable, which are weak, because I look a certain type. So everybody always wants to cast me in like these तू तड़ाका वाला roles, कि ये तो आके मतलब लगा देगी दो घुसंड और फिर वो आदमी गिर जाएगा या मर जाएगा, things like that, because that's what, like, I come across as somebody like that. So it's interesting that they thought of me when they wanted to cast me in a role like this, because it's not every day that you get a part like this. It's a very emotionally draining show. It was a very emotionally draining show for me to shoot. Every day was, wake up or aaj ye scene hai, oh my god, like, okay, we have to do this. So I was always so riled up, I was always so angry, I was always so pissed off. We had workshops before we started shooting the show. हम लोगों ने 3 दिन की वर्कशॉप की थी अतुल मोंगिया के साथ. और वो ट्रॉमा वर्कशॉप्स थी, बिकॉज मैंने जब हम लोग की टेबल रीड्स हुई थी तो मैंने मेकर्स से बोला था कि आई डोंट नो हाउ दिस कैरेक्टर फील्स, एंड आई रियली वुड लाइक a workshop that will kind of set the tone for me, because I feel very lost right now. I don't know how it feels to be so violated. The makers are very, very good. They immediately organized this workshop, and we went and shot in Shimla. Thankfully हम लोग बॉम्बे की भसड़ से बाहर शूट कर रहे थे, so it kind of gave me that breathing space. मैं रोज किसी से मिलती नहीं थी, मैं सिर्फ मेरी मेकअप आर्टिस्ट और मेरा एक्सपोर्ट बॉय था, हम तीनों ही रहते थे चंगू मंगू की तरह, so it was like they knew that they cannot talk to me when the shoot is happening. So they really stood like pillars for me. My director was very sensitive, my DOP was fantastic. He always made sure that that I was not being interfered with. Because there were lots of times जब मैं कहीं भाग जाती थी scene से पहले, and then I would just come when they would say action, and I would arrive and I would start doing it, and then they would be like, अच्छा इससे बात मत करो अभी, so it's one of those things. So there were lots of times when they were shooting the show and I would just not talk to anybody. I would always be angry. I would always be like, working my own senses, working my own emotions, riling myself, because the show required me to do that. So it was emotionally very draining for me for those 2.5 months that we were shooting, to be in that space.
Well, quite understandable. And, I think we have limited time. So that's the reason I got to keep it really short and crisp. But I want to know this one thing from you, that, as an artist, obviously, the audience's appreciation is there, and at the same time, you get these kind of very special, awards that gives you, kind of butterflies and everything. But what do you put more priority to do? I mean, do you more, like, put more priority to these, critically acclaimed awards, or is like the appreciation of the audience the final thing for you?
Of course, the appreciation of the audience means everything to us, because by the end of the day, we are nothing if our audiences don't watch our work. Who's
Correct.
going to watch it? Me, alone with you. So, it's
Yeah.
everybody has to watch it. But of
Yeah.
course, awards are validation, because when you get an award, I think like people also get up and recognize you. Makers
True.
will be like, okay, you know what, we can cast her. And honestly, the kind of, the scenario that I'm seeing in today's times, it's pretty simple. They want to get capable actors who will be able to deliver the goods really fast, because times have become very constrained. People are not taking so much time to shoot a certain series. अगर मान लो आपको एक सीरीज में 50 दिन मिलते थे, अब ऐसे बजट्स हो गए कि आपको उनको 25 दिन में शूट करना है, थिंग्स लाइक दैट. एंड आई एम एक्चुअली सीइंग द पेस एट व्हिच shows are being shot. And अगर आप, if you cannot keep up with that pace, then you'll be nowhere, because honestly, makers are looking at actors who can just deliver the goods and do a capable job of delivering the goods in that crunched time. So at this point of time, they are looking at actors who they can depend on.
Yeah.
So you really have to understand that, that if these awards don't come about, people will not get up and take notice of you.
Yeah.
When these kind of awards happen, then it's just validation that it's going to lead me to my next job, and it's going to be a little bigger and better than this.
Well, you spoke about getting bigger and better than this. I hope the next shows that you do, whatever you come up with, audiences' appreciation also gets bigger and better, and so do these awards. I wish you all the best for all your future endeavors. Thank you so much for joining us here on IWMBuzz.
Thank
It's a
you.
pleasure.
Thank you
And
so
take care,
much.
stay safe, and good luck to you for everything
Thank
that
you
you do.
so much. You
Thank
too.
you.
Take
Thank
care.
you. Thank you. Thank
Bye.
you.